So welcome everyone to the Process Champion Network. Thank you for attending for today. If you got an email from me about the Process Champion Network, you've been identified as a process champion for your department or unit. And so what does that mean, process champion? What does it mean to be in a process network? Basically, what we're trying to do, BPMO has either worked with you in some capacity to do either a process map or go all the way to building a full-blown process architecture. So we're bringing everybody here on this call together because essentially we're all contributing to a larger UC Berkeley picture. And we're hoping to connect everybody who is leading this work within their departments together so that you don't feel like this work is in a silo for just your department. You understand that it contributes to a bigger picture, and maybe you guys can bounce best practices or just begin to learn and grow with process based on everybody else's experiences. So amidst what's happening in the world right now with COVID-19, our team has personally seen an uptick in request of, process mapping and the need for documentation and having a process repository or library. A lot of requests have come in where it's like, hey, we need to switch this process to be an online or virtual process, or we need to start documenting something because we had to cut down our team and we can't lose this historical knowledge. So, it doesn't matter which way you came into process. It could have been a multitude of different ways, but you're here, you are championing this work for your department. And we're so happy that you're a part of it because it's literally helping us make our job that much easier, that much more transparent to kind of build this process library with you. So this meeting, we won't be downloading any information to you. This is not us spitting out any information to you. This meeting is more of you talking to us. We've engaged with you guys in some sort of capacity. Now we're trying to understand, now that you are champions and you're identified as those, we're trying to understand from our champions how this network can work for you guys. Maybe what are some of the gaps? What are some of the benefits that we can see coming out of this Process Champion Network? So I have a slide deck I'm going to throw up. We're going to call this, co-designing a new future state of process at UC Berkeley. So we're going to co-design what this network looks like together. It's going to feel different than, some other working groups you might have participated in, because it's going to be led by you guys, by the content that you guys are generating. So we're really hoping to hear from you guys and not spit out stuff to you. I'm going to throw up a quick presentation to kind of ground us just in why we're all here and just look at some cool, quick facts. And then we'll open it up to you guys for feedback. So I'll defer to Chris over here. He's going to take over for the rest of the presentation and we'll get started. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Well, thanks. I support everything Priya said. Thanks for joining us. I think there's a real big opportunity here. I'm going to make this really brief so we can get into hearing from you. This is meant to be a little loose because that's why we're here, is to build this over time with all your input and not just ours at all. So everybody has a voice here. So I just want to say that part of building a community of practice, especially if you have built one yourself, we really want your input to help us do this. But I think there's a real big opportunity to think about the future of process in higher education, not just at UC Berkeley, but also across all the UC and in the bigger picture of higher education. So if you want to jump to the next slide, Priya, just real quickly, you've all stepped into process in your areas in different ways, but we're all really doing this together to make process maturity really happen and grow here on the campus. And so all of you are starting to think more holistically end to end, which is a big step forward for higher education and for Berkeley, and really thinking about putting things in one place. And that's really simple, but the concept of a library, right? We go get a book at a library, you bring that book back. Another person can come look at that book and read that book, right? And that's the concept here. We now have a central library for process. For those of you who do know, it's ProMap. Many of you are already kind of up and running, and that's why you're here. If you're not, you will be very soon, but you've driven process in your area. So I don't want to talk anymore other than showing the next slide really quickly. Thinking about process library, this is the real big opportunity that really grounds us, just to show a little data, because part of being process mature is also being data mature. So if you look, this is the first time in the history of the UC system where we have a centralized place to start counting process. So this is data directly out of our central library, the central process repository that is ProMap. And you can see Berkeley here kind of at the top. And this is part of why we're forming this community of practice, is to hear from you and to continue to grow these numbers for another 150 years at Berkeley, right? We're 150 years old, and after 150 years, we finally have a central place to put our processes. That's pretty spectacular. So I want to thank you all for helping us be the genesis of this. And I'm going to just kind of pass it on to Nick here for a minute, because Nick has really driven a lot of this data, both at the UC Berkeley level as well at the UC level, and then even further in higher education in general.
Thanks, Chris. As a lot of you already are familiar with, ProMap and its use at UC Berkeley, which you may not be aware of, is this actually, we have a system-wide contract in place with the vendor, and ourselves, UCOP and UC San Diego kind of started this, and others have joined, and you see from the data in front of you, it's growing in a lot of locations, and even UC Irvine and others are looking at joining here in the near future. We are also have kicked off a UC system-wide community of practice, so kind of mirroring what we're trying to do here at UC Berkeley, where we're coming together, leveraging each other's knowledge, best practices, and experiences. So there's a lot going on both here on campus, system-wide, and it's also great to see that there's a huge commitment behind the tools that we're using to do better work here at UC Berkeley.
Thanks, Nick. So I think the reason why we just showed the data was just to show you and to lend credibility to the fact that ProMap's here to stay. It's here across the UC system, and it's booming, pretty quickly in higher education. And the genesis of it was here at UC Berkeley. So we brought it here, and then furthermore grew into across the UC, as Nick mentioned. And now we're at there's a huge, enormous opportunity to really grow. So that's really all we wanted to do to introduce this. As Priya mentioned in the beginning, this is really about co-design. So this is about, we'll probably take the first couple sessions once we figure out what the cadence is, which will be part of today, to really build this together. Again, this isn't about us downloading information to you. It's just about, getting us together to co-design this. So the next part here, Priya, if you want to just jump to the next piece, is really introducing yourselves. So we would just ask to, tell us who you are, where you are on the campus, a comment or two about the current state of what you see about process in your area, and then a fun fact here about yourself. Would you rather go back in time? Would you rather go back to the past, or would you rather go ahead into the future? So thinking about the pandemic, that's just a little fun fact to add a little fun to the piece. So I'll just start to make it easy. I'm Chris DeMarco. I've been on campus about 8 years. I love process. It is everything that we do. I feel very fortunate. I love my job. I love working in process. And I do believe that process is everything from, building your child, getting your child off to school and making the peanut butter and jelly, all the way through to complex automations. Process is the backbone of everything. And with AI and everything happening in automation, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have a good process on the way in, you can't automate and do anything on the backside. For me, I would rather definitely go into the future. That is what I would like to see. And I have a knack for writing about the past, but that's why I want to go to the future. So with that, I will just kind of popcorn to the next person that's on my screen. So I'm going to hand it back to Priya, and then Priya can hand it off to the next person.
All right, Priya, everybody met me in the beginning. I'm with BPMO, with Chris here alongside him doing process consulting, process analyst. So what's the current state of process for our department? It's actually pretty good. I would say our team feels good about what we're doing in process. We're documenting just like you guys. We are way further ahead. We're not in stage 5, stage 6. We're not all the way out there living on an island by ourselves, just doing process work. We're in the trenches with you guys, documenting in ProMap as well. So that's where we are as well, creating our own architecture too. Would I rather go back in the past or the future? I think I would actually rather go back to the past, just because there's so much that I like in the current day that hails from the past that I think I would just want to see it in the flesh. So yeah, I'll popcorn over to Lucas.
Hi all, Lucas Carlton. I'm over in Berkeley Public Health. I'm Director of Operations and Finance for the online MPH program there, and also a program manager, so I have a student-facing role there as well. Current state of process for our department. Well, we have Mike and team working with us. We have a cohort of change makers, as we're being called. It was something we volunteered to do. And we have a project with one or two other staff members from the school in different departments. And so we're working to improve a specific process for that project. So we're working on a student hiring project and kind of getting our hands dirty with ProMap and just everything that has to do with process improvement. So we're pretty excited about it. It's been a great experience so far. We have a long way to go. Would you rather go back? I'm also in the move into the future zone right now. I feel like COVID created a lot of flexibility, different ways of looking at the world, different ways of approaching life that have been good in my world. So I'm full steam ahead. So I will pass this off to Nick.
Good morning, Nick Ensley. I'm also with BPMO, and I think I've worked with pretty much everyone here on the call. So I think we've already spoken, my colleagues, for the process in our department. So let's see, going back to the past or the future. I guess I'm a bit of a history buff and nerd and love those kind of things. So being able to go back and view some of that myself would be quite interesting. And Keeley.
Hi, I am Keeley Nelson. I am in ERMC, so that is External Relations and Marketing Communications, which is in UDAR, which is the Central Fundraising Unit. And I would say that we are in intermediate stage, pretty mature, but then we've had to put a lot of things on hold because of bandwidth. It has been helpful with rolling out our new project management platform. And let's see, I would like to go into the future. I am all about looking forward and possibilities. And to Allison.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. Allison Murray. I work for Berkeley Regional Services, providing HR operations for them. Current state of a process for our department, I would say, because we're regional services, some regional teams have built some maturity around process. I think we still have a long way to go. We have opportunities to really build with the ProMap and add training materials, making things more accessible so that we have a consistent model and people feel comfortable when they come into a new job. So I think we still have a little bit to go there, but we have the right team here, so I know we'll be successful. Would I rather go back or move forward to the future? I think the past, sadly, because I love so much of the history and music and food and culture. And I know we kind of screwed up in some ways, and so I kind of want to help make it better. I think the future is a little intimidating, but I'm all in. Let's see, who's next? Ann Ho.
Thanks, Allison. I'm Anne. I work as an organizational consultant in BPMO for the past couple of years, nearly. A recovering Visio user and really excited about the doors that ProMap has opened up for even my own experience and competency as a process champion. And as others have said, BPMO is maturing and evolving day to day as far as the current state of processes. I am a historical nonfiction lover, so I would love to go to the past with the caveat of being able to come back to the present to use that knowledge to impact and improve our future. Next up, Janet.
All right, thanks. Okay, so I also work in Berkeley Regional Services with Allison. And where are we at in the processes? I think, like Allison, we've got a long way to go. We've done some good work, and again, developing the discipline for people to go into ProMap, and getting people to come back and revisit processes again and again and really detail them out has been helpful. But there's just a lot of processes, a lot of complexity, and I think Keely had mentioned running into a bandwidth issue, and it's the same thing with us too. Would I rather go back into the past or into the future? Yes, the answer is yes. Because there are things we learn, and again, I find the past very interesting. But I also think to myself, like Back to the Future, like, hey, maybe I could zip myself off into the future. I love automation. I love thinking about how we can do things better, and, taking advantage of all the great new stuff that's coming out. But then maybe I could jump in my DeLorean and go back to use my steam engine or whatever in Back to the Future 3, where, they go back in time. So, because I think it'd be fun to do either. So, all right, who has not yet gone? Let me check in the gallery. Mike. Oh, Michael Thomas, you go.
Okay, and then Mike. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Thompson. I also work for Berkeley Regional Services, along with a bunch of other teams. I really enjoy the people side of campus. I've spent most of my adult life on this campus, and it's really important to me to have connections. I love being able to pick up the phone or to text in order to do business. That is the opposite of process, however. And I do see the necessity in documenting things. And, having been here on 4th Street since it opened, I joined the department, which was CSS, 6 months before we got the 4th Street building. And it's constantly changing. I love change. I love new stuff. I love new people. So I'm definitely a future person. I've been over on campus over 25 years, but I still consider myself brand new in my career. But I am going to retire the minute the money makes sense. But I'll still probably come and volunteer. I'm definitely still going to work out at the RSF. So you guys, thank you for having me. This is fantastic. Mike Cook, we haven't forgot you.
Thanks, Michael. My name is Mike Cook. I'm director of the Business Process Management Office. I just wanted to say I'm super excited that we're having this meeting. We've come a long way. In less than 3 years, we've come a long way. I mean, I specifically remember some conference room conversations that Chris and I had before there was even BPMO. Chris said, "Hey, it'd be great if we could document every single process that the university has." And everyone was kind of like, "Yeah, right, Chris." But I was like, "Let's do it. Why not?" We started drawing on the whiteboard. Nick joined us and came up with this process architecture idea. And so it's amazing from that initial conversation to where we are today. So I'm just super excited, and I'm excited to see this grow and the process maturity, and see everybody documenting processes, because it is gonna make a difference as we move forward. If I'd rather go back in the past or go in the future, to be completely transparent, I'll be 50 in a couple months. So of course I would like to go back in the past and pretend that I'm not about to be 50. However, I think I'm starting to accept that fact. So I'm looking towards the future and making the 50s the best decade ever. So, all right, Kim.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim. I work in Berkeley Public Health, just like Lucas. We're actually on the same Changemakers team and working on improving student hiring processes. My department, we have a lot of flow charts and like process maps using Visio. And I think the remainder is like just in people's heads, like we don't really have it documented. So ProMap would be such a great tool for everyone to use, but at the same time, like there are so many processes that we would need to document. So that's the current state. And I would rather go back to the past. I've always been a huge history nerd since I was a kid. I love studying history. I love reading like the Magic Treehouse books, or what I did when I was a kid. So it'd be really cool to just be there and kind of be a fly on the wall. And I will popcorn over to Liz.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Liz Kafer. I'm in the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, and I'm an academic personnel analyst there. Been there about 6 years, been at the university about 11. The current state of our processes within the VCRO, I would say, is it's in its infancy. I've been working with Chris and Priya for over a year now to document some of our HR processes that have been living in my supervisor's head for 20 years. And so I was really excited. I think I was first exposed to Chris and Priya and your office through a presentation that was given on the process engine. And that just really transformed my thinking and got me really excited about the possibilities in our office and how this could help us. So there's a lot to do outside of my particular HR function in terms of, I think, getting the rest of my department on board in terms of seeing the value in mapping these processes, but I'm determined. And then in terms of what I'd rather go back to the past or go into the future, I think despite sometimes my being paralyzed by fear of the unknown, sometimes I still would prefer to go into the future because I too think the future holds possibility, and that's where I want to be. Let's see, I will popcorn over to Marissa.
Hey, it's Marisa. And
oh, yes, sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Liz. And sorry, I'm having bandwidth issues, so the camera has become a non-issue in my life these days. Marisa from EH&S. I serve as an analyst to the ED and the senior managers of the department. And about 2015-ish, I started a project at the department called STEPS, which was called Standard EH&S Procedures. And it was basically built on a Google platform. And, you know, quite honestly, it's a major balancing act to get our technical teams to continue to document their work when they're still responsible for the actual compliance component of that work. So I will honestly say that some of those steps that were written 6-7 years ago have not been touched in 6-7 years. And so when the ProMat dialogue started happening a few years ago, I kind of got it in my head that you don't want to move old so, you know, when you're moving, you don't want to move old furniture into the new house. And so I was like, if we're going to refresh these, I want to refresh them into a more dynamic platform and format. So I started to reach out to Priya and this team. And I was one of the fortunate people that was able to go through some of the previous incarnations of the BPI workshops. So it's, you know, it's a high priority for the department, but it's always balanced with the bandwidth issue and the consistent approach. I was stealing words from other people's sharing there. And quite frankly, I can't really answer the past or future. I've been really trying hard to ground myself in the present, you know, kind of just like, this is where I'm at. And this is, I need to kind of build what I want around me, taking into kind of past experiences and future possibilities. Anyway, that's me. Thanks.
I think we got everybody. Did we get everybody? Did we miss anyone? If we missed you, speak up, because I want to make sure we got everybody. All right, Priya, I think we're trying to have fun. We want to make this community practice different. So we're going to be vulnerable and launch a few kind of a different style of poll here.
So, okay, so I alluded to this before. I said, hey, we want your feedback. We're going to try some new tools. We're going to try something different. So Chris and I have been to many a conference where they use this tool called Poll EV. So we're going to try it today with our group and see if we can get this to work. So I'm going to throw a link in the chat to you guys right now. And so essentially what this link is if you click the link, you'll be able to answer the question that we have here on the screen. And then as you answer, the live responses will pop up so we can honor everybody's kind of voice and see it all at once, but we won't see your name attached to it. So we'll just see as many ideas that pop up. And so the question here really is, like, what would you like to share with each other in the Process Champion Network? Or what would you like out of the Process Champion Network? Hearing on the call just now from everybody's introductions, we hear that we're all at a different place with process, where some of us are super new, some of us have, done this work for years now. But hearing all of our experiences, knowing what your gaps are within your own department, or knowing what you need to keep growing through with process. Why don't you go ahead and drop some comments or drop some questions or feedback in this this feedback link here, and let's see what pops up and see what kind of themes come out of this group that we can try to structure this champion network in the future so it works for you guys and it's not us setting an agenda, but really you setting the agenda for what you guys want to see. So I'll give us a few minutes just to kind of get some ideas out and see this screen fill up, and then we'll talk about it and see where we're at. And do you know a way we can put waiting music so it's a little bit more interesting for the Zoom?
So for Zoom, what I had to do in the past was have a link to a YouTube video that plays music, and you click on it and it opens up.
Gotcha. Okay.
Otherwise, Chris has a keyboard behind him, so not to put him on the spot.
That's really funny. Hey, Priya, is the link in the chat? For some reason, I'm like.
Let me try it again. Oh, I think I sent it just to Nick. Sorry, guys.
Okay,
I'll send it to everybody
so
here.
there's a link. Priya just threw the link. So if you click on it, you should be able to just jump right in. Sorry.
There we go. All right, there we go. That's working. We're in 2021 right now. We know how to use tools. We're cool. We're with it. Let's see.
Awesome. Priya, the link didn't work for me.
It didn't work for me either. So it worked for some people. That's really interesting. It didn't work for me.
Yeah, it didn't work for me either.
Okay.
Maybe because there's there's 4 W's.
Is there?
There's 4 W's in I think that thing is called the World Wide Web.
Let me relink it. I was inventing a new process library. I knew.
I like it. Vulnerability at its finest.
There you go. I keep sending to Nick for some reason. I will resend the link. All right, some early responses. We got best practices, reviewing each other's processes, best way to show connected processes. Awesome. Thanks for being vulnerable with us, guys. It's the first time we've ever actually used this tool live with an audience. So we're working through it with you guys. But no better group than the champions, right? Okay. Awesome.
Wow, there's some good ones in there. I was trying to read.
Yeah. We'll give it another minute or so and get the responses to trickle in, and then we'll kind of go over them and read them. And then we have one other fun polling tool to throw at you. So we're just throwing all the tools at you guys today. We're just seeing what sticks, what works.
How to make process permanent. That's a good one. Keep them coming.
Awesome.
Get buy-in from all. Love it.
What about, we heard a lot about bandwidth issues. I don't know if they're.
Yeah, that one came up.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's any solutions that other people have used to kind of circumvent the bandwidth issues. So some sharing on that. Oh, I like it. You see the last one? Ensure sponsor engagement and support. I could pin that to the top. I would. Nice. Chris, you want to start talking about some of these? I think we're starting to see some themes here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of motivation techniques. That's an interesting one. Does anybody, whoever put that, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I love that. I love motivation techniques, but I'm curious where people think and how we could do that. I think that's a really good one. I think part of this is, we invited 26 people here and we know that this is the first one. So we got to motivate people to come, right? And I think, things like hallway marketing work, but anybody else have thoughts on motivational techniques around process that they've seen work or thoughts they have that they want to contribute to that one? Feel free to just throw it out there. Part of that is sponsor engagement. Go ahead. Someone was about to say something, I think.
Hey, Chris, it's Janet. When we were starting out, like just the WACA team, which is the compliance group,
Yep.
It was the same type of thing. We had a few people, like the people on this call that were pretty passionate about wanting to do it and were engaged right away. But we knew we needed to have more people involved, greater representation across campus and things like that. And what we did was so again, as a team, we sort of identified, oh yeah, these are the other people we wanted to get involved, right? And we reached out to them, sort of like people who have relationships with them, to try to at least get them coming for the first like one or two times. And then once they were kind of in the meeting once or twice, they started to see the value. Then it really became easy to get people in and to get a backup person and regular attendance and things like that. So I'm wondering if there are people that you, for example, you guys know that you would like to have incorporated or included in the meeting, but for whatever reason, maybe they haven't chose to participate yet. Maybe if we know who they are, if we have relationships, maybe we can reach out.
That's great. Yeah.
And see what we
really appreciate that. And that's part of the co-design too. So thanks, Janet. We want as many people that are really driving process from whatever angle that have the interest in their area, right? So thanks for that. Any other thoughts on motivation? I picked out motivation because there's a lot of great thoughts here, but the motivation is such an important piece to forming a community of practice. Other thoughts, Nick?
So I'm not going to speak for BPMO. Actually, I want to share some things that some of our process champions who couldn't be here have mentioned in the past. Facilities, Shri and Chelsea shared a lot when they were doing this work, that they have a lot of different teams, and before the work was very siloed in those boxes and people didn't understand what happened when something in that end-to-end process went to another team. When they started doing this work and bringing those people together to document and connect processes, it was a huge turning the light bulb on for everyone in that group and really illuminating the actual process. And it was a great learning experience where they actually can improve things and know how it actually impacts. So that was a huge motivation for that group.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. Any other thoughts, either building on moving across silos or motivational areas and building a network community of practice on the motivational front around process?
I could just mention in my intro, I mentioned the Changemaker project that Kim and I are part of. And so this was a creation of our chief administrative officer is a sponsor, and it was a way to bring staff across different units together to start working on this. And they, part of the program, you had to, put in an application for it. And then the supervisor had to sign off and say, yeah, you could, this staff person could use 5% of their effort toward this project over the next year or however long it was. So that was one way that Berkeley Public Health got this off the ground.
And that kind of allowance there, that's an allowing piece, that 5%. It's not quite awarding. I saw award come up in here, but it's another way, right? We're kind of, our hands are tied. We know we're not getting handed bonuses here at Berkeley. We're a nonprofit. We don't have that culture. So awards tend to be tough, but allowing, right, is really important. So thanks, Lucas. I think that's really great. Carving out, right? We really need supervisors, managers, sponsors to have that time and space to carve it out to do and focus on process and change in the future state, right? So thanks, Lucas. Other thoughts on anything here? Michael?
I was just thinking, Nick has graciously offered to help us out with some process improvement. And he said, hey, I thought you were going to reach out to me. And I'm like, yes, I will, but I'm here fighting fires every day. And so I guess, I mean, we know this is important, but you know, the day's emails come in and I should be working on process improvement. Instead, I'm trying to keep drama down. And so I think one of the, you know, how do we maintain what we have? And then, you know, we're keeping the ship afloat, but we're also doing some renovations on the ship. And I think maybe the timelines, or I'm sure that's not the right word, but how do you schedule in the process improvement work and not look like, oh, must be nice, we got a fire and you're working on the future?
Well, I would say you have to take a step back and ask yourself why you're fighting fires all the time. I mean, it's a long-winded answer. I could talk on for a long time about what you're saying, Mike, you know, but it really comes down to prioritization and really understanding, why are you fighting these fires? And, you know, is it because there's no prioritization? Is it because there are no processes documented? Is it because there's no strategic plan? So those are all reasons why there are areas with a lot of firefighting. Yes, things happen, and yes, there are the occasional exception where you have to drop everything and do it, but it's called an exception for a reason, which means you shouldn't be fighting fires all the time. Because at that point, if you're fighting fires all the time, you're not fighting fires. That's now your day-to-day job. You know, so you have to take a step back and really think about what you're doing, what's causing these fires, and how to stop them. And I don't know the details, but I'd be willing to bet it's a combination of prioritization issues, no alignment to strategic plan types of issues, process issues. Could be a combination of all those different things. So really it takes commitment from leadership to say, hey, if we don't want to continue working like this, we're going to have to invest the time to make a difference so you're no longer fighting fires.
Thank you, Mike. That's why I'm here, and I want to spread this through our organization.
We gotta move to proactive versus reactive. And someone put up here how to go from documenting a current state to process improvement. That's really a great one, right? Because in order to be proactive and not reactive, we have to document and bring transparency to our current state. You cannot improve what you do not see. So this is a really good one.
Sorry, Chris, let me add on to that. I actually put that one, and let me add on to that, and also to a little bit what Mike said. You know, one thing that sometimes if you hear a lot of, well, we're so busy, we have so many projects, there's so much stuff going on, we don't have time for this. That's because there's lack of prioritization. And that's it. And the output from that is generally things don't get done in a timely manner. Things run on and on. Projects aren't successful. Projects gets dropped because the next most important thing came on, right? So you have to have prioritization of what you're doing and then push through to get those things done. Now, if something else more important comes in, you have to have those trade-off discussions, right? Say, okay, well, is this a priority now? Is this not a priority now? So it's important to have prioritization. So if you hear things like we're constantly fighting fires, or we're so busy, we have so many different things going on, you need to take a step back and prioritize and understand what's important. And to Chris's point that, you know, how to document from current state to process improvement, it all starts with understanding what you're doing, just documenting current state. And then you can prioritize what you need to improve. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's great. I just think that was a really good one. What other things do people want to say? You know, there's some really great ones here, but I just want to make sure the floor is open for those who want to speak about either one they put up here or build on kind of the current conversation.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing, then I'll shut up, I promise everybody. But I did put one on there called, I put process.berkeley.edu use and value. So that is going to be a website. It's actually in the testing environment right now, so I'm building this site. So the process.berkeley.edu site is going to house all the architectures that are being put together. There's visuals that I'm putting together for all the architectures that will then link to each of the processes mini modes, right? So it's a central way for people to go see the UC Berkeley Process House and find processes. That would be the central way, in addition to however you want to have it facing your audience in your specific unit or department as well.
And think about that as an index card catalog, right? Just like that library analogy I keep using. Imagine going to a card catalog and pulling out that drawer with your perfectly organized processes across silos, not by department. Your index card catalogs aren't by department, right? Because that would be the downfall. They really have to be end-to-end holistic process thinking, which you're all starting to do, which we're all growing together and doing, to open up that drawer for an end-to-end process across the silos. So I love that analogy. It really helps us think about going to a library. It's something we all have done and can think about. Get buy-in from all. There's another great one, right? That's really beautiful. That's why we're starting to form this, right? We're starting to actually have data, a central place. Now we need to build the community. We need to rally around motivating others. What else? Here's the lack of bandwidth, right? How do we do this? You know, Michael brought this up. We're fighting fires. We gotta, you know, Lucas mentioned 5%. We've gotta get people, you know, whether it's block out every Friday from 10 to 11 and put process improvement on your calendar. It doesn't matter what you do, but go in and document a process. Whatever that means, people can't bother you in that hour unless the building's burning down, right? Type thing. But if we start to have the discipline to put a 1 hour block on our calendar once a week that says process, I guarantee you no supervisor and no manager is going to yell at you for that, right? Drive it yourself, right? Lead without authority. Process, it's going to take a community of people to get it ubiquitous across the campus, not only the process library, but all our work around it.
So I wanted to point out as I was scrolling through it, I don't know if it's because you guys have worked with us and we're seeing all our words come out of coming here to the feedback, but it's almost like you guys are painting the actual picture of what you need from the beginning to get you to that end point of improvements. And I say that because I see ensure sponsor engagement and support. That's almost right up at the front with like ensuring that we have that support to actually do this work. Going back to what Mike said about prioritization, how do I know I can even prioritize this? Because I have my sponsors' support to do this work. And I know it's important to them for me to document this work to make those improvements. And you guys are getting to the next steps. You know, you're saying like, how can I do change management when process improvements are needed? You know, thinking about the people and the change side of things, getting those people on board, buying them into this process library, to these process improvements, and then actually getting people to commit to actually doing this work. So you guys are all painting the picture of where you need to be. And I think I'm starting to see a trend here. Chris, like for the next few sessions, we're probably going to just like walk all of us through each of these major buckets and see what we all have to contribute to that particular part, whether it's upfront with getting started with sponsor engagement, or we're at the end where we got people ProMap trained and now we're just trying to get them, you know, to start documenting and prioritizing things. So I think you guys are all, you know, you're seeing the broader picture here and we're all connecting it with each other. And these are like, the comments are amazing here. Like, I think actual improvements, not just the most OCD's person way of doing business imposed on others. This is great because it tells us that you're thinking, I don't want to just document a process in a silo. I actually like want to come out of it and look at how everybody is doing it and then collectively corral and make that 80-20, that 80% best process, 20%, you know, rarity. But you guys are all like rallying around the right. I think you guys are all coming to the right conclusions, and there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just beautiful that you're all like taking the journey through this feedback, and it's amazing to see. So I don't know about you, Chris, but I think we got 10 more minutes here. I want to just get to the next polling question. We're going to share out these results because the poll's full, and then we'll let you go. So the next, any final kind of questions around the Process Champion Network that we want to share before we move on to the last question? And the last question is not that hard, so you can share right now. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for contributing. So the last question is going to be, it's going to pop up on your Zoom, and it's going to be an easy one. Knowing that we're all thinking process, knowing that we all want to keep this momentum going and figure out how to prioritize this work, how often do we want to meet as a group to figure this out? So I've launched a poll here. We can meet monthly, every other month, quarterly, or maybe once a semester, where the semester is the fall, spring, and summer semester, so 3 times a year. So I'll leave this poll up for you guys to fill out.
There's a definite difference between what I wish I had time for versus what the reality is.
Exactly. That's why we need to hear from you. I think I got one more person who hasn't responded yet, and then I can close the poll. Perfect. Okay. So I will share those results back to you. This is the result. So we look like we're doing either every other month or quarterly. So that'll work for us. We'll figure out a scheduling that kind of works for all of us there. But I think that works. That gives us enough time to kind of go back to our departments, figure out what we're going to prioritize, go do some process stuff, come back and see what worked, what didn't, what we need to talk to people about, and share what's going on.
2 actionable things I heard today based on this poll. So if we start meeting every other week, one of the things Janet brought up, if there are other people in the area of being a champion that you know is doing this work and would have the interest, please feel free to reach out, send an email to Priya and I, and we'll find those people. So thank you for that, Janet. And the last part is that to bring this kind of full circle, we just said we want to do this every other month. Well, there's 12 months in a year. There's 6 one-hour sessions that you can add, which you weren't doing before, to think about process. Maybe that's not every week, but that's a start. You know, if we start showing up here, there's 6 hours. If everybody in the university did 6 hours over the course of the year, that's better than what maybe we were doing last year. So if we think about it in the big context of continuous improvement, just think about if everybody put 1 hour on their calendar that said process a week across the entire university, and they did something around process, where we would be next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So start thinking about it that way. It doesn't matter. We're not asking for a lot. We're not asking for anything, but just by showing up here and talking process and sharing your experiences, we're going to start to co-design something that continues to grow. And to come full circle to what Mike brought up, it's been my dream to list every process in the university, and I will be dead before that happens. But thinking about going into the future, right, it's pretty eye-opening that we now have a central place to at least put those, because that was the first problem we had to solve in order to get here. So I just want to say that thinking small steps and not trying to boil the ocean is super important in the world of process, because process is like cooking. You never reach the finish line, right? You will always find something else to improve and something else to document, because change is the only thing that is constant. So from that, I just want to thank everybody for their time. I'm excited to grow this and continue to kind of push forward. It's never easy to start something that's grassroots. And so we really appreciate everybody's time. And this is about you. This isn't about us. I know we kind of are the ones starting this, but I'm hoping that it really becomes everybody else's over time. So I just personally want to thank everybody for their time, for coming. We know you're busy. We know there's bandwidth issues across campus, and you had the choice, right? You didn't have to be here. So I really, really appreciate it. And it's an honor and a pleasure to continue to learn from you all.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This is really
Thanks,
great.
everyone.
So we will circle back with the cadence and everything you had here and send out the data and hopefully get this thing off the ground so we can start to push on process across the entire community. Any other thoughts? Anybody else?
I'll send out an email with all this information, but I'll also say, feel free to reach out to me. I know a lot of people on the call here have actually already developed things in-house for their own department. So if maybe the next meeting you foresee, hey, maybe I want to share this back out to the group, let me know and we can throw that on the agenda. The agenda is up to you. So I'll keep that in the email for now, but just so you guys know. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks. Bye.